Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Good afternoon. This is Jodi Lowe with the Leadership Lowdown, powered by UN Improved and Conscious Capitalism, Arizona. Leadership Lowdown is a radio series dedicated to shining a spotlight on Valley business leaders and sharing the real stories behind their rise to the top. We want to know the truth about what it takes to truly succeed in life and business. And we're here to uncover these leaders' journeys, the pitfalls, the victories, and of course, all of the heartaches and triumphs in between. And today, I am thrilled to be sitting across from a dear friend, Mr. Rick Dircks, the Executive Vice President of Dircks Moving and Logistics. Welcome. So happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Jodi. Love to be here.
Yeah, so happy. And a new friend, a name that I've heard a million times, but we've never been able to connect prior to today. So welcome, Mr. Mike Jones of Resound Creative.
Thanks, Jodi.
Yes, Mike is the CEO there and does some amazing work in the branding space. So thrilled to have you both here. The Leadership Lowdown is all, like I said, all about being able to uncover your journeys. What worked, what didn't, what sucked, what was great. So being able to share with people, what it all took. So would love to start with you, Rick, a little bit about how did you get into this moving space? I know it was you and your brother, but tell us a little bit about how you got here and what Dircks is.
Well, I was a moving brat, so I grew up in the business. My dad was in the business back in the Midwest, so I actually came to Arizona, went to college, and determined never to do moving again because I hated it because I actually moved the furniture, which was not a lot of fun.
Yes.
So I came to college to get away from that. But a couple years out of college, I realized I knew something about it.
Yep.
And I just kind of got sucked in. I think a lot of times we do what we're comfortable with.
Yep.
So I understood the business, and I got on the sales side, so I didn't have to actually carry any furniture, drive any trucks.
Like, get me out of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, I guess about 6 years after I got into it, my brother and I were both working for different companies, just said, you know what, we think we could do this.
Mm-hmm.
And we had kind of a unique set of skill sets. We had a sales guy and an operations guy. So we said, other people are doing it. We see all things they do wrong. Let's try.
Yeah.
So we just sucked it up and tried, and we're still trying.
That's amazing. Yeah. So now Chip came from a moving background as well. I mean, obviously your family, but he was with one firm, you were with another, and that.
Yeah, my dad was a partner in a national, we're kind of franchisers, like a better term, for Allied Van Lines. They were a national operation. My brother worked for that company. Okay. I worked for other companies in California. So we had actually different backgrounds, which was kind of neat. So he worked for a large multi-city company, and I worked more for small one-city operations. So we had very differing backgrounds, considering we came from the same background originally. Right.
And now, is that how the business is laid out today? I know you head up all of sales. Is your brother then in charge of operations, or how do you divvy up those responsibilities?
Yeah, I'm kind of the outside guy. In fact, we joke about that. We say it's a bad day for me when I'm in the office, and for him, it's a bad day when he's out of the office. Mm-hmm. So he heads up the administration, the operations side, the accounting side. I head up the sales and the marketing side. And that's actually probably, there's one thing that's made us go as long as we've gone. It's almost 30 years now. It's the fact that we both have our own lanes that we by and large stay in. Sure. Not always, but we by and large stay in. Yeah. And it's our specialty is what we like doing as well, which helps a lot. It's nice to do what you like doing.
Absolutely. So obviously there's a lot of competition in this space, and Dircks is one of the most known brands and companies out there, especially here locally. What would you say that you and Chip do differently, or what was it that you set out to do differently? Because again, in a crowded space, standing out, as I'm sure Mike can attest to, isn't always easy. So,
yep. I think we said, what are we going to be good at? And our skill set really was around the people side and the quality side. So really, we kind of went after the high end demographics. Okay. And also the corporate world. So most moving companies, they're kind of they're split into two categories. They're the national guys and the local guys. Mm-hmm. So we initially started off as a national guy, first of all. So we had resources. Fortunately, do stuff anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world as far as that goes. But I think where we separated ourselves, we said, let's do it right. And it's really nice when you have the sales department says, we want high end, we want to do it right. And you have people that are actually performing the work that say, we want to do it right. Because sometimes there's an imbalance there between the two areas. Yeah. And so we've always really said, what are we going to do that's doing it the right way and versus the wrong way? We're in an industry that isn't always done the right way. There are a lot of shortcuts and people take shortcuts. And we've always said, we're not going to do that. So I think we've always tried to differentiate ourselves at that kind of that high end.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so do you do residential moves then, or are you strictly focused on the corporate type work?
We kind of, it's a three-legged stool for us. We do residential kind of one-time moves for people moving locally or throughout the country. That's roughly a third. A third of our business is corporate, where it's relocations on behalf of companies. So we handle when they hire new employees or transfer them.
Right.
And the third piece is the newer piece and really the best piece to be in this space, which is commercial moving, warehousing, logistics. We do all sorts of very interesting, warehouse projects. So we have about 350,000 square feet of warehouse space. So we do a lot of warehousing.
Yeah,
now
your
as well.
space is amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I do understand, and granted, we do sit on a board or group or two together, but I do understand there's a little bit of an ASU affiliation, perhaps, that you may have. So share with our listeners a little bit about your passion for ASU and also what Dircks does to support ASU. Well,
sure. I mean, first of all, I went to school there and now have kids going to school there, so it's kind of a personal thing. But when we bought the company, actually, the predecessors had an agreement with them. So we took that agreement with ASU to do work for them. We built upon that. And I do believe that you want to be involved with your customers and create partnerships, et cetera. So we've taken it to a different level. So while we do a bulk of their moving, their various services they need from us, we decided early on to get involved. So I'm involved. I've been in a thing called the President's Club for the last 20 years, which is where you kind of get a little access to the president, find out what's going on in the big picture, and you're around a lot of the donors and a lot of the players around the university. But then I've also got involved more internally. So I'm involved with WP Carey, the School of Business. That's where I kind of started. In fact, one of my goals coming up here is to teach there. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do. Oh,
fantastic.
But I've also got involved with various boards there. Currently, I'm on the alumni board. I actually chair the alumni board there. Yeah. So that's kind of fun because you're representing, 500,000 people that have gone through before me. So done that. And then some of the neater things are just being able to help with scholarships. And we're a sponsor of the athletic program. So we do a lot with athletics, which is fun, as well as good for business. So we've kind of gotten into a lot of fingers in a lot of different areas within the university. And it's there's 75,000 students and 15,000 employees. So it's a very large organization, kind of a small city. So we've been growing pretty well. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know that that's just a piece of what Dircks does in terms of, I know charitable giving and that is a big part of your culture. Speak to that a little bit. What are some of the things that you're part of your core values of what you and Dircks represent?
Well, it started, the being involved in the community started off as a business, as a piece of the business going, hey, the networking and getting involved with organizations is good for business. But as I get older and a little wiser, I found out it's being good for the community is just good for us and everybody. So we have a mantra about let's leave the community a little better than when we found it. So we encourage everybody to be involved with a lot of stuff. I think I'm on 8 or 9 boards right now, so I'm obviously involved in a lot of stuff. But people go, how do you do it? Well, it's my job to do it. So it's, some people have, jobs that are sitting behind a desk. My job entails being out and about a lot. So,
absolutely.
And it's a wide variety of things, whether it's educational stuff, whether it's non-for-profits. We're involved in a lot of economic development groups because that's near and dear to our business of getting people to move. So we do things like that. But we really encourage our employees as well. If they have a passion, let's get involved. So a lot of the smaller things we do is getting involved with things like schools and whatnot where they need our service. So we'll donate our service, whether it's boxes or trucks and manpower just to move stuff because, as you know, when there's ever events, you got to get stuff from point A to point B. So
absolutely.
So we're involved in a lot of little areas as we can to do things like that.
Give back to the local community too. That's great. And for you then, I know you said it was sort of in your blood in terms of your family, but did you have a specific mentor, whether it be someone from your family or outside, that really took you under their wing and you were like, oh my gosh, that person really shaped me? Or how did that play out for you?
It's kind of interesting to see. I've never really thought of it in terms of that, but I think with me, it's there've been so many. I mean, it started. My dad was in the business. I learned a whole lot from him, and he was a great mentor to me because he had such strong morals and values, and I think that's where I got to do things right. But since then, as I've gotten involved with different organizations, I've met a lot of people on the way that I think I've got little pieces from. There's one guy in particular that I'll single out that has been a lot to me, and that's a guy named Win Holden, who was the publisher of Arizona Highways. He was involved with he's been a lot of boards, a lot of chairman of a lot of boards, and he taught me not only a lot about being involved in how to be involved the right way, but it had a lot of personal traits that I thought were really good. So I've tried to pull things like that. In that case, he has a great trait that I've tried to emulate, which is likability.
Mm-hmm.
When people like other people, they're going to want to do business with them, want to work with them, things like that.
Sure.
So that's one example of a guy that I met through my involvement in the community that became friends with and learned things. So I think a lot of people I've gotten bits and pieces from things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And do you find yourself now, as we all age, Mike's a little junior to us, to us folks in the room, but do you find yourself in a mentoring role often now, or for some of the folks, whether it's in your company or industry?
Yes, I do. And that's a lot of fun because I think as you get older and you start to, your perspective changes, you want to do more of that.
Yeah.
I think especially with involvement at the university, that's been kind of fun to me because to be around the kids. So now you got people that are starting their professional careers or not sure what to do. And it wasn't too many years ago, I was in the same boat. It's like, what am I going to do with this life? For me, it's worked out pretty well. But to see kids going through the same thing, I have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
So, and we're not only involved with the issue, but also involved with Grand Canyon, be able to work with them. And kind of a side note, which we have a second company in Tucson. We're actually involved with the University of Arizona, so we're actually a equal opportunity.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Not just Sun Devils, but Wildcats, and even a little bit up at NAU. So that's so much fun. And as I said earlier, I'd love to teach at some point. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, when you think back on the 30-ish years, 30-plus years, 30-ish years, I guess we're getting close. Is there anything when you look back that you think, my gosh, that was like the biggest mistake, or if I could do that differently, or it was a mistake, but I learned so much? Like, do you have one of those like big moments that ever happened in your career, or many of them?
I don't know if I necessarily have any big moments like that, but what I would say to that is like, in the task, you try to take a shortcut. Shortcuts generally don't work. I mean, the old saying about nothing replaces hard work. Yeah, it is kind of true. So I think that, we've made some mistakes in the past where, okay, I'm going to try to cut something here, cut something there.
Right.
And I think that would be one area. And the other area, I think, is how you treat people. There have been times, I think, in the past where I didn't treat someone as well as I could have. And it's amazing how that will come back to you. I have a sign behind my desk that says, help others get what they want. You'll get what you want. And I really believe in that. You'll get used by certain people by doing that, by helping them. But in the vast majority of times, it will come back in one way or another. So I think just learning those things the hard way makes it easy to put a positive spin on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good motto or mantra. Would you also are outside of the Dircks moving and logistics world? I know that you are also a raving fan of a certain place in sunny California that you and your family go to more than I think any person I may know. So tell us about this affinity and love for Disneyland, where it started and what the passion is there.
Yeah, well, we started, I have two daughters, and we started when they were very, very young of going to Disneyland. It's an easy trip to get to and all that. And it just, over time, it built for reasons I don't really know. So we started going every year. And now that they're grown, one's in college and one's out working. But when we made the plunge, I guess about 5 years ago, to annual pass, that kind of took it all to a different level because now you can go all you want for free.
Right.
Something like that.
Right. Something like that. Close to free, right?
Right, exactly.
As free as Disney gets.
Yeah, as free as it gets. But the great part for me on the family side, because family, it trumps everything else that I do in life. And hopefully most of us feel the same way. But that's something that we will do anytime, any way we can, is to do it together. So, someone said, if you didn't go with your kids, would you go alone to a Disneyland? I go, probably not, because it's the whole experience.
It is.
Yeah. we go quite regularly, but it's a great family experience, and believe it or not, it keeps building.
Yeah.
I can keep building on something, doing it over and over again.
Yeah, it's become your thing.
It's definitely become our thing.
How often do you go now?
Probably 4 times a year. Not since last weekend.
See, I was going to say, I'm shocked to hear only 4, because it seems like you're there at least once a month, or maybe that's just from the photos I see, but in your daughters and their darling outfits. And I mean, they are like done up. Like, it is a thing. Like, talk about branding. I mean, Mike, you'll appreciate this, but I mean, they are so Mickey'd out. It is amazing.
No, the organization is so great at doing it too.
Right.
We've actually tried other amusement parks. It's like nothing compares to the experience.
No.
And, so they have a way of doing it. People go, how can you stand the crowds? It's like, it's just part of the experience. It's people watching. It's like-minded people and all that.
Yeah,
but
having fun.
But again, I think the biggest thing for us, it's something we do as a unit.
Yeah.
and we do it regularly. So it's a lot of fun.
That's great.
Yeah, we love it.
Do you think that playful, and again, in how I know you, you always are very just lighthearted, easygoing guy. Do you think making time for play like that has been part of that, or is that just who you are? Like, does that help feed the playfulness within you, or are you a playful guy so you seek it?
I think parts of both, probably. Again, I haven't really thought about that, but I think, you talk about your personal brand and your personal image. I would rather people think of me as likable and fun and light and goofy. In fact, for those that follow me on social media, there's a picture of me and Goofy. When I run into him at Disneyland, there's always a photo opportunity. So, so I guess I think they kind of feed off each other.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing to be known as that. In fact, I was at a very businessy meeting, and they went around the room and said, "Tell us something unique about yourself," a few months ago, and I said, what unique is, we're kind of Disneyland fanatics. And after that, 3 other people, very serious people on very serious topics. So probably 3 people after that, when they introduced themselves, somehow introduced the whole Disney Goofy thing, which is kind of cool. So I think we kind of lighten up the room. And if I can ever do that, if I can lighten up a room, I think that's a good thing.
Well, you always lighten up the rooms that I am in with you. That's just always been your personality, whether it's over lunch or in a meeting. So I appreciate that about you. And kind of turning the focus a little bit, we're talking about personal branding. So I'm like, I can't not take the opportunity to introduce this amazing gentleman with Resound Creative. So tell us, okay, so you started Resound 11 years ago now. Did I get that right?
Almost 11. January 7th is our anniversary.
Okay, so we are almost exactly the same. So
That's
I was
awesome.
December of this year, turned 11. So we're right there together. So let's take a little journey back to 2008, shall we? Because I don't know that a lot of people were spending a lot of money on their creative back then. No. So what made you do it? How did this start? Tell us about the journey.
Yeah, so the journey probably starts actually as a kid, and this is hindsight. So as I looked back on how did I get to like starting a business and owning a business, running a business, I realized after the fact that I'm a 3rd generation entrepreneur.
Okay.
So my grandfather started his own business in Florida, basically about 10 years after World War II. Built a very successful construction company there, building homes in Florida at a great time to be doing that.
Yeah.
And then my dad, when he moved out here, had kind of that entrepreneurial spirit, had started his own kind of construction company, and then ended up actually in the janitorial service industry for various reasons. And he's been running his business now for, I think, close to almost 30 years.
Wow.
He's about to retire next year. Then I started my own, and I'd actually tried a couple times to start businesses even before Resound. So it's like clear, like looking back, it never really clicked until like afterwards. I was like, oh, okay. So there's probably a little bit of this in my blood. This isn't just simply like there's a problem to solve and I need to solve it. Like some, I think entrepreneurs, although that's definitely a part of what Resound is, which I'll get to in a second. But definitely there's something in my blood and just passion for building things. I've always enjoyed building, and even my background as a graphic designer, and that's kind of what I brought into the business to get it going. We were doing a lot of graphic design and advertising design and some writing. Even that, I think, was really based on my passion to build. I love to build things. I love to build systems. And when you talk about brand, a lot of what branding is uncovering someone's identity and then putting a layer of systemization to it, right? Allowing them to kind of go, okay, so how do I consistently both message and visualize who I am to the world? Whether that's at a corporate level with an organization or at an individual level with a person. And when we started, my 2 partners and I, we now have 4 partners, actually. There's 4 of us. But when we started, there were 3. When the 3 of us first got together, that was something that we all had in common, that we really believed ultimately that every single person, human being, is intrinsically remarkable. And that organizations, as really just groups of people on a common mission with a common set of values, a common purpose, really should be remarkable too. They should exemplify that remarkableness that people have in like individually. And so that's the kind of mission that we've brought to Resound, which is how do we help organizations really unlock that, what makes them remarkable?
Yeah.
It's already there. A lot of times they've maybe lost it. There's been a transition, there's been a change, or even just over the course of time, you get kind of into the grind of the day to day and making the sales, making the numbers, making sure everyone gets paid. And the next thing you know, you've kind of forgotten what were we doing when we started?
Yeah. What makes
why
us
are we here?
Unique or remarkable. Right.
And a lot of our companies that we work with, a lot of our clients, we're very focused on B2B. So a lot of our clients are selling to other businesses. And as a lot of them are service providers, there's a tendency with service providers to kind of, hey, if when a client asks for something, you figure it out, right? And so over the course of time, 20, 30, even 40 years, you now have a line of services that's very broad. And there comes a point in that company's kind of trajectory where they have to go, wait, what ties all these things together? Because it doesn't make sense anymore to our market.
Yep.
Right? They don't understand what makes us unique and special anymore because we do so many things.
Sure.
A lot of our engagements are really coming in and helping them kind of go back, right? What got us started? How did we acquire these different services? And then how do we put together a new identity that really ties them all together and says, this is how they make sense together so that you actually have a unique position in the market.
And so so when you're working with an organization and doing that for them, what facets, because there's PR agencies, there's, social media companies. So what do you take on and what do you not take on? So
we do strategy. That's our bread and butter.
Okay.
So I run a lot of leadership workshops. We come in, we help leadership teams really kind of unlock this knowledge they already have that they just haven't all been really maybe talking about or haven't been talking about in the same way, right? Let's get some of these friction points out. I was just working with an organization last week and they identified amongst a number of issues. One of the issues that came out of the workshop was, oh my goodness, just 4 people on the leadership team that were in that workshop. And of those 4, two sets of them had different ideas of what an ideal customer looked like.
Oh, interesting.
And immediately we're like, here's a major challenge that you guys are going to have moving forward is if you don't know who you want, you cannot be unique and well-positioned in your market.
Sure.
So we got to solve that problem. So we do a lot of workshops. We do a lot of research. So we'll take those findings out of the workshop and then we'll go and talk to their customers. We'll talk to their employees and find out, hey, are these findings actually validated? Or is the perception of leadership maybe off?
Right.
Where is there an issue here? And what ultimately is backed up by that feedback?
That's really a good lesson that you give because as entrepreneurs, we all want to get it done. Let's figure it out. And
which is really important.
What we just learned recently, that's not a good thing necessarily because you could spread thin and we've had that problem. So I think it's really cool that you're teaching people do that because just figuring out is not always a good thing.
Right, right. Then what?
Sometimes they want to hear it and sometimes they don't.
Right.
Another organization we're working with over the summer and I identified they're a nonprofit and they had a couple programs where I was like, these don't make sense. Like we keep talking about your focus and we're trying to get to a tagline. That's the deliverable we're trying to get to. We've got 2 programs kind of out on the fringes that just don't fit. And there was a lot of like nodding heads, whether or not they'll be able to do anything about that. I mean, there's other challenges that come with that.
Sure.
But we'll find out. But at least recognizing where maybe you've strayed, and where maybe you need to tighten things up or refocus, or how do we reposition these programs so that they start to make sense?
Right.
Or what priority do they really get?
Sure.
Maybe they're not at the top.
So then your goal is to obviously lay out the strategy and connect all these dots to bring everything together. And then is it just dependent upon the industry, the company, what you then do with it?
So some of our clients are large enough that they've got their own in-house team. And so they'll do their own marketing rollout. Oftentimes we're at least putting together kind of verbal guidelines and visual guidelines for them of like, how do we package this, make sure it's consistent. And then in terms of all the touch points, that's up to them to kind of figure out. Some of our smaller clients, we actually are their outsourced marketing team.
Sure.
And so we'll do not everything. There's some edges to what we do. So we'll do a lot of digital. We do a lot of website design and development. We do a lot of collateral design development. We do event kind of trade show design. We do some content. Some of our clients were actually publishing all of their blogs and newsletters and social media. What we don't do is we don't get into PR. When it gets into like relationship management with journalists and
media.
That's a little outside of our wheelhouse. We've got a couple partners we'll bring in.
And can companies hire you if they have their own, like you said, in-house team or outsource? Can they hire you? Hey, we just need stuff for trade shows and collateral, or do you want to do the soup to nuts, the whole? Will you jump in like that?
Yeah, no, we've definitely jumped in. And I think there's a way to attack brand kind of at any point. Mm-hmm. We kind of break it down. There's kind of three fundamental. I wouldn't use phases, but there's three fundamental kind of pieces to your brand. One is finding your frequency, right? Which is really all that strategy and research, really uncovering your identity. Mm-hmm. The second is amplifying your brand, right? Getting it out to the right people with the right messaging at the right time, which a lot of times is advertising. There's other things you can do in there, but most people understand that as advertising. And the last is resonating with your audience, which is this feedback cycle, right? So just because we're putting messaging out, that doesn't end what branding is about, right? What we really ultimately want is to put a message out that people resonate with, that they then give us feedback that it's working, right? And we often see that as, in a traditional advertising speak, that's earned media, right? That's testimonials, that's customer reviews, that's press about your organization that isn't necessarily you going and paying for those things,
right?
Or you and going and soliciting them. Although that's that's part of the process. But how do you really elicit this response back? Like, oh wow, we're actually building something beyond just satisfied customers, but almost a passionate community, right? Of advocates.
Right.
We all talk about that. Like, what is the holy grail of all marketing? It's word of mouth, right? And ultimately, like, who are the best salespeople? Your most satisfied customers.
Yep, absolutely.
And so how do we get to that point? And that's what that resonance is all about. And so some companies, they're more in that amplify or maybe in the resonance kind of stage of things. And there's a little bit of strategy we can kind of apply. We don't, I always tell every, person that hits us up and says, hey, I want to work with you. And I go, are you ready to do a little bit of strategy? If you're not, if you just want like the deliverable, two things. One is that's not how we work. That's not our process. And because of that, you're going to find that our price is a little bit higher than what maybe you're expecting.
Sure.
Right? Because if you just want to go hire a contracted graphic designer,
that's what you should go do.
You should go do that.
Right.
We're not that.
And that's why I ask, because I know some firms, it is, you want to create this whole picture. This is, from A to Z, and others, it's more of a jump in.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to start where they're at, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we sometimes can see, I'm trying to not be egotistical on this. I think sometimes we can see, just because of our kind of depth of understanding with brand and identity, we can see kind of like, I know where you're going to be in about a year, and we're going to be talking about some of these really deep issues.
But they're looking to
but right
plug
now,
holes in the boat right now.
You've got holes in the boat, and you got to get those plugged, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
We often take kind of a what's going to get the best bang for your buck right now approach too. Yeah. And we can do kind of some things simultaneously or kind of phase things out.
Yeah. So, do the current while going back and starting at the beginning and reworking. Who's doing it well? That you see right now. What are the brands that are really on target?
That's a great question that I was not prepared for. I usually have somebody like right off the top. There's always the obvious ones like Nike, Apple, Google to some degree. Amazon is a little more iffy. They do some things really well with brand. They do other things that just drive me nuts. So when you're talking about kind of like Fortune 500, the big guys, those are probably the easy ones. And those are the ones often that we pull out and say, look, if you're looking at someone to put up on a pedestal and say, hey, what can you achieve or what can we hope to achieve? Yeah. At the same time, I think there's thousands of brands doing good jobs. Right. And I think the ones that are the ones where you go, that feels real. That feels true. We talk about that a lot in our workshops of really there's only one way to brand well, and it's with the truth. The alternative, there is an alternative, right? We can create something fake, right? We can just make it up and we can slap it on and hope to fool people. The challenge that I always pose is I go, how long do you think that's going to last?
Right.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The access that customers have to information has never been greater. Your ability to just pump out TV, radio, and print ads and kind of paper over issues within your organization from kind of a culture standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, which all feed into your brand, those days are long gone.
Yeah.
It's not the 60s anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the 80s anymore. We're literally in 2020, right? Where that ability to kind of fake it until you make it, or just fake it forever,
right?
Type philosophy, it will not work. It will not last.
Yeah.
It's not even going to last more than, I'd say, even a year, right? I think you can do a little bit for a little bit of time and kind of, all right, we made something up and it's out there and it looks good, right? And people kind of like the message. The challenge too is that like the minute you get past the marketing, right, with your brand, is it continuous? Does it match the experience that people have? We talked about Disney earlier, right? Like what's one of the things that makes Disney so sticky as a brand is because they've built their brand into nearly every experience that you can possibly have with them, right?
So true.
The training that they put their people through, it's rigorous, right? I mean, some of their almost too rigorous at times, and yet what it produces is this phenomenally consistent, compelling experience that people have, where you can walk into the theme park, or you can watch a film, you can experience any other product that they have, and you go, that is Disney, right? There's no doubt about it. And even when they have missteps and they have a failure here and there, they're able to recover because they're so centered.
Yep.
Right. They really know who they are.
They can pull right back in.
It's been interesting to watch them actually as they've gone through major like acquisitions and really grown through acquisitions over the last couple of years. And I think there's some questions that are starting to be asked as to whether or not, like how much capacity does Disney have to really expand beyond that core that they've always had? Yeah. You look at Star Wars. I was just reading an article the other day of like, has the Star Wars acquisition really worked out for Disney yet? And the answer, I think, is at the moment, no. They've really had some major failures. Things have not had that kind of consistency of experience that I think we expect from Disney. And it'll be interesting to see if they're able to recover from that.
Yeah.
But I look at the history of that company and the history of that brand, and I go, well, it's definitely there. They can do it.
Yeah. If anyone can.
If anyone can.
But
right?
if you stray away from your mission too much, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. You lose sight of that vision. And again, we kind of go back to that original kind of conversation around like, as you grow, there are going to be temptations to move beyond what your center is.
And I think to your point, obviously sometimes it's the excitement of the shiny object, but if it's, Dirk's moving logistics and interior design, like what, okay, you're in homes, you're in buildings, but that doesn't connect the dots. But I do think sometimes it's been 30 years. Let's mix it up a little bit. And other times it's like, really, let's focus.
Or as an entrepreneur, you have opportunities. So you take opportunities to get into something that you don't belong in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because someone's saying, hey, come do this for me.
And it's
that temptation
and
is very strong.
Whether it's from a revenue side or just a... Hey,
we had that last year with our company. So we've gotten into, again, not living to our own kind of preaching.
Sure.
We've gotten into a little bit of software development through some of our customers wanting some things. And we have capacity, we have talent to do it. And so we've done it. And last year, we had a particular partner in that process, another software company that we've done a lot of integrations for, ask us like, hey, would you want to do more of this? And as we thought about it, we said, maybe there's definitely revenue and we've got this strong partnership relationship that could lead to like a good like channel, a good pipeline of referrals. But we knew as we kind of approached it, we said two things. One is we really have to spin this off. It would actually be a detriment to Resound's brand to kind of house this within our brand. And we need to have a partner who can own it. It can't just be like the side thing that we try to do.
Right. The side hustle.
Like the side hustle thing. And taking that approach actually I think we took about 4 months, my partners and I, to really assess that and kind of work through some options. We found that like we don't have the capacity to really market this the way that it would need to be marketed and spin it off. And secondly, we don't have the right partner. We had somebody in-house, a technical lead that we thought maybe this would be the right person. And for various reasons, it wasn't right. And they were feeling that too after a few months. I think we were all very excited at first. And then, you get through, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's really take our time. Let's do our due diligence. Let's figure this out. And by the end of the year, we were like, this is not strategically what we should be focusing on and spending any more time on.
We had a similar thing where we branched and did more military business. And it was, again, outside our comfort zone a little bit, but it's still moving. And then we said it's not our core competency. The military in the last few months has made a decision. They're outsourcing all their business. They're by far the largest business.
Wow.
Largest customer in our business by far. There were like 300 providers. We were one of them.
Wow.
They're now outsourcing to one. So had we continued to go into that more, we could have really got burned.
Yeah.
Because odds are we aren't getting it. So
So do you think that's a gut thing, or do you think that's a mind thing, or is it a combination of the two?
Well, you had mentioned there's this entrepreneurial draw, right? You see an opportunity.
Right.
So that's the gut, right?
Yep.
And I think experienced entrepreneurs or smart entrepreneurs, I think you should listen to your gut, right? Sometimes your gut is like spot on and it's telling you something that your mind hasn't caught up to yet, right? We do the same thing in how we purchase. Our guts actually lead most of our purchasing and we rationalize it with our minds.
Yep.
If we do that process correctly, the two balance each other,
Right.
So we don't make every decision based on our gut because we then process it through like some kind of rational system. I think you can do the same thing organizationally, right? So we go, our gut is telling us there might be an opportunity here. Now let's run through the checklist.
Yeah.
Let's see, does it match our vision and mission?
Right.
Does it match our set of values, right? Our core values. Does it match the story that we're trying to tell with our brand? If it fits within those and we can see where that opportunity can grow, great.
Yeah.
We now have an expansion of what our brand does, but not an expansion of who our brand is.
But it's it's got to be sustainable because the gut tells us do it.
Yeah.
It's sustainable. They said the saying, if you manage by your gut, you just get stomach aches.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then, like anything, like what's your goal? And I think that's the really exciting part for me as a brand guy is there are ways to approach every opportunity and say, okay, it's not right for our brand.
Right.
Well, what would it make it right? So like the example I gave of kind of what we were looking at with like a software development company was like, well, we would need to spin up a separate brand.
Right.
And we would need to have the leadership to lead that brand and really make it successful. And then those questions become a lot easier of like, well, do we have it? Right. Or what are we going to need to do it? Do we need to go find funding? Do we need to find another partner?
Yeah. What is it going to take to do that? Yeah. Yeah. Well, good lessons learned. And obviously you all worked through it and thought through it and felt through it. So
still standing.
Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, we have a series of questions at the Leadership Lowdown that I'd love to ask because I think that there are so many great takeaways from it. If either of you have tuned into the show before, then you know these questions. If not, I'll fill you in. They originally come from a French talk show, and then the Bravo Network would ask them, all of the actors and actresses that came through, these same series of questions. So I like to weave them into the Leadership Lowdown because I think it's really, it's fun and it's telling of who you are. So
who's it more fun for, her or us?
I don't know. There's probably a little bit
her.
of a debate around that. There's probably a debate. So I will ask the questions, and then whoever wants to jump in first, go for it. So the first question is, what is your favorite word?
The right answer is remarkable.
Yeah, that's the brandy word. What's the real one?
Our tagline is "You're remarkable," and we find ways to work that into.
I'm sure you do.
Everything to a fault.
Right.
In fact, my Twitter handle is Remarkamike because of that.
Right?
Oh, that's great.
I was looking at rebranding my Twitter handle, and one of our team members jokingly was like, because that's our favorite thing to do, Remarka, and then tack something on the end. And they're like, Remarkamike. And we all kind of were like, ha, that's funny. And then I stewed on it for about a week and I was like, actually, I like that. And
well, it could be remarkable.
It works. Remarkable.
It's
too late, Jodi. I'm sorry.
Sorry. That's next. That's your book. That's your book title.
Yeah. Remarkable.
There you go. So is it remarkable or is there a new
No, I think that's
word?
that's the right word.
Yeah.
I think it really is.
That's your favorite?
Word. Yeah.
How about you, Rick?
I say fun.
Yeah. Goes to the goofy, right?
Yeah, why
Plays
not?
right into
All
it.
All things equal, I'd rather have fun than not have fun.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
Great.
So contrary to that, then, what is your least favorite word?
Synergy.
Yeah, because it's overused?
Yeah, overused. And I think 9 times out of 10 when it's thrown out, it's not, no one knows what they mean.
Yeah.
Right? It's somewhat buzzwordy, but I've been using the word symbiotic a lot more. because I think it gets closer to what most people mean when they say, "Oh, I'm really liking the synergy," or "We're going to create synergy," or "I see a lot of synergy that could happen here." And what you really mean is like, no, this is going to be symbiotic. This is going to be beneficial to both of us,
right?
And it's going to kind of amplify itself as we work together,
right?
There's probably better words too, but synergy,
okay. Yeah, kind of annoying. How about you?
I'm thinking something like average, okay.
Yeah,
the commercials,
just the status quo.
Yeah, it's like that's no good being the status quo.
Yeah.
Anybody can be average. What
sets you apart?
Yeah, exactly.
What makes you remarkable? Right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Fun is not okay.
Yeah.
Or okay. I got to rethink that.
Yeah.
It is okay, but it's more than okay.
Yes. It's way above okay. So what turns you on either creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? I know these are tough.
I go back somehow to the helping people or seeing a smile on a person. I'm a people pleaser. So there's nothing better than seeing somebody, hopefully if you had a hand in it, but otherwise just someone do well or whatever, get over the hurdle or something.
Sure.
I think it's
some
fun.
kind of personal success. Or...
Yeah, and I think especially when you had something to do with it, it's kind of fun to see somebody succeed.
I bet.
Because of that.
I love it. Love it. How about you, Mike?
I have to pick one. Can I have two?
Sure.
All right. I have too many passions. That's my problem. I love history and music. I actually was in a rock band for a while. Actually, one of my business partners and I were in a band for about 5 years in college and then out of college. And I still love playing bass guitar. It's my instrument, and I love listening to music and deep passion for it. And then also history. I actually, when I first went to college, I was thinking I would be a history major and I'd go get my doctorate, and I teach history at some college or university.
Interesting.
And,
2 history buffs.
Realized I'm going to have to write papers the rest of my life. And I was like, no.
Get a real job now.
You're like, now what do I do with this?
So what's really cool, and so I still read a ton of history books, and it's one of my favorite things to study. I pick up all sorts of podcasts and YouTube series on history.
A particular part of history? Or just...
I love a lot of history. I've been recently... just because I stumbled onto it, there's a podcast called the History of Rome podcast. It's like 172 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
That I binged over the summer on my commutes. I spent about 3-4 months every commute, every drive.
So if we need to know anything about Rome, you're our guy.
Yeah, probably not. But I can think that I am.
That's pretty cool.
So I've kind of continued to study that a little bit. But.
So do you enjoy, if you love music and you love history, do you love the history of music?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was just curious. Seems like it would be a natural pairing, but I don't know.
History of jazz was an awesome class in college.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I love the confluence of those two, definitely.
Awesome. Love it. Love it.
I'm too visual. I have to see it. So I have to go visit history to read about it.
Yeah. Go see it. Go see it yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So what turns each of you off?
Debbie Doubters people.
Because they're not fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Negative people, it's like, why?
Yeah.
That's too short.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Be smiling.
I'm with you on that. Knew I liked you for a reason, Mr. Dircks.
Me too, to you.
How about you?
People who are faking it.
Yeah.
And I think there are some very seemingly successcill people.
Yep. Seemingly being the operative word.
Yeah.
For sure.
They have a following, right? So there's some level of success.
Yep.
But I have a really hard time. And I think there are times when I'm like, well, actually what they just said was good, but overall what I'm getting from them is something not real.
Yep.
Not really true.
Yep.
And that I just can't stand it.
Related to that too, it's insecurity.
Yeah.
Insecure people are they're kind of hard to be around sometimes because they want to show off, they want to put other people down for their own
just be
gain.
Something they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Authenticity is one of my core values, and it is truly I can completely relate because I think that would be the word that would come to me too. There's something about when someone is just not true to who they are or act as if it is like nails down a chalkboard. I'm like, just be real. Just be you. Just stop with all the
You'd be fine if you were just you too.
Yeah, exactly. Life would be a lot easier for everybody involved. Just be you. Love it. And now this is internet radio. You can say whatever the heck you want, okay? So just keep that in mind when I ask you this question. What is your favorite curse word? And the mics go quiet.
Wow. I don't think I have one. I've used them, but I was happy.
I don't know if it's even considered a curse word anymore, but I use the word crap all the time.
Yeah.
And we've kind of had this moment in our house where I've got 3 young kids and we realize, do we want them to use that word?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not the one we want to.
Trying to, and I use it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I realize how much I use it.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden when you start hearing him say it.
That's funny because my language becomes selective depending on the audience. But we seem to use like dipstick a lot. Dork wad is another one. It's kind of a nice way of
your
saying.
Your nice little hybrids of some fun words. I like it.
Could be a little worse.
We'll do dipstick and dork wad or whatever you come up with. I love it. I love it. What sound or noise do you love?
ASU fight song.
Nice. Ooh. Oh, I like it. Oh, my little Sun Devil brother over there. I love it. And I can speak. I went to U of A for a semester, so I can speak to yes, that true ASU love.
Sound or noise?
Yeah.
At first, I was not thinking music, and the first thing that popped in my head was white noise.
Oh, okay.
I can't sleep without it.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
sure
so you're a white noise
the
guy.
Fact that we've had 3 kids in 5 years, and so there's constantly
constant
white noise.
Yeah.
Whether it's their white noise in their room or the monitor with the baby in our room, and it's just But I like
it's peaceful.
So if I go, like if I'm traveling, I've always got to have white
Bring
noise
it with
on.
You. Yeah.
I don't know.
So what sound or noise do you both hate?
I think what you said earlier about the nails on the chalkboard. How's that?
Yeah. Although they don't have those in school anymore. I hate to tell you. Now it's all smart boards and
sirens.
All this great stuff. Sirens. Oh yeah, that's not good.
Slurping.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like a hot soup slurping?
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah.
Oh, Karen, our producer, is looking very mischievous right now. I think she's ready to go order some soup right about now. Slurping and sirens. Yeah, these are all good. Ooh, I like them. Good job. So what profession, I might know the answer based on some of your earlier answers. What profession other than your own would you love to attempt?
Pro athlete.
Oh, I thought you were going to say teacher.
No. Teacher too, no. Yeah. But you got to have talent to be a pro athlete.
What sport?
That's the only downside.
What sport?
Probably growing up with baseball.
Yeah.
That was my deal, baseball.
I could see you being a baseball player. I could see that.
I was.
Nice. So pro baseball player.
That's in the mix. I'm a huge basketball nut.
Okay.
One of my other endless number of passions. I actually, the thing I think I would want that's achievable. Mm-hmm. So like basketball would be awesome. It'll never happen because I'm not physically built for it.
Right.
If I could, I don't know if I'd go back. I don't live in that kind of mindset.
Right.
But I have this kind of like maybe one day, semi-retired, I would love to like become a master carpenter.
Oh, interesting.
Learn how to build. Well, I wouldn't learn. I would just do it. Figure out how to build really cool stuff.
I love it. I love it. See, look at the interesting things you find out about your neighbors here.
See, if it's realistic, it could be a tour guide for me.
Yeah.
Dreaming. I'd be good at that.
That'd be really fun. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be
cool. Around a bunch of happy people, right?
Yeah.
What would be your like prime destination to guide people?
That's a great question.
Is this part of the Arizona Highways connection that you feel like this?
Yeah, maybe. Well, it used to be joke would be being a greeter at Disneyland.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know if I could do that one. But, I'd actually, like I've been on a couple of tours. It'd be neat the people that get to go on different ones because I'm also I'm bored easily. So you need to keep switching. I couldn't do the same thing all the time.
Right.
So send me all over the world.
There's a really cool company actually that works right out of here, out of Mac 6, called EXP Trips, and they design trips for high school for school students that they work with their teachers to design like a week-long trip to a specific destination and create an education experience in that trip.
Oh, wow.
And so they go and actually design out like where are we going to go? What are we going to stop and see? What kind of local experts do we need to pull in and help guide them? So a little bit of history, a little bit of kind of entertainment, like what is a city or place or location all about for these students? So
how cool!
See, and I think an adult version of that's kind of cool. Is I have a friend with a company. They do high end events, so like Masters golf tournaments and Formula One car races. Then you start hitting bucket list things. Cool. That would be fun to go to and kind of get behind the scenes.
Do
just
that.
Have to have deep pockets.
Yes.
So, what profession would you never like to attempt?
One I've already attempted. So growing up, your dad owns a janitorial service. What do you do for your first job? you clean office buildings.
Yeah.
And the actual cleaning part, I think you talked about like the moving part wasn't your favorite part.
Yeah.
The cleaning part is really what turned me off. And it wasn't necessarily the cleaning. I actually realized I was getting bored out of my mind. I don't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I spend hours in this building.
You're both people
by
so that's
myself.
hard. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I can't see myself doing this. And I remember telling my dad, of course, he's probably like, this 18-year-old punk doesn't know what he wants anyway. But I told him, like, don't plan on me taking over.
Yeah. You don't need to worry about that, Dad. It's not going to happen.
You're going to need to find some other exit plan here.
How about you,
That's
Rick?
fun. Probably anything to do, almost the anti, you talked about the carpentry, anything using my hands. I'm the anti-handyman.
Oh, okay.
I figure that's why you pay people.
Yes, you find great
things
people.
for you. Exactly. They'll do better than you.
I'm with you on that.
I grew up, my upbringing did not involve learning to use tools.
Got it.
So that would be a challenge.
Yes.
For me. I don't have the patience for it either.
Yes. Well, and to wrap up our fun series of questions, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
This is a loaded question. Well done. I think that would
Short
be
and sweet.
That would, that's what I'd want to hear.
Short and sweet. I love it. How about you, Rick?
I'd probably just he left it a little better place and help people.
Nice. Well, you both do great work and do those things. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. So what would you, in terms of words of wisdom for our listeners today, what would be that either saying, phrase, something that you would offer as a bit of advice or word of wisdom to our listeners that you've learned along your journey in your businesses?
I'd probably say stay true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So do whatever you're going to do it because it's you, it's real.
Yeah.
And don't stray off of that.
Yeah. Love it. How about you, Mike?
Piggyback on that, because I was already thinking, you are remarkable.
Yeah.
That was our tagline. It wasn't just kitschy, sound good kind of tagline. It was really like, we noticed, and we've noticed over the years, just at an individual level, there's so many people that we work with or we get to bring on our team or that we kind of just interface in the community who maybe actually don't believe that about themselves. And I think that goes back to like what you just said also of like, be true to yourself. Like you have something remarkable to bring to this world and to impact others with.
Yeah.
And it's your job to figure out what that is.
I love it.
And it might take time, might take hard work. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take some failures, but that I think is the piece that will keep you going.
Absolutely.
In that. And finding it really starts to center your world, right?
Absolutely.
Now you know what to say yes to and what to say no to and who to serve and how to serve them well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, it's cool because that's what you do too.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's what you do in your business. Absolutely. We're kindred spirits in that because that's definitely like pulling out that greatness in people. It's like, yes, when they see it and they feel it. And then other people, it's this palpable thing. It's like, yes, people live in big, great, bold lives. I love it. I love it. Well, if folks want to connect with each of you, how is that done best? LinkedIn, email, how can they connect with you if they have follow-up questions or would like to learn more about you?
The LinkedIn, email, both are regulars.
Perfect. So, and your email, just throw it out there.
rdircks@dircks.com.
Oh, rdircks@dircks.com. Perfect.
Yep.
How about you, Mr. Mike?
Yeah, email is great. LinkedIn, Twitter, all those places.
Yep.
If you search Remarka-Mike, you will find me online.
That's great.
If you want to hit me up directly, mike@resoundcreative.com.
Awesome.
That's my email. And our website is resoundcreative.com.
Perfect. Easy enough. Well, gentlemen, thank you both so much for being a part of the show today. You have been listening to the Leadership Lowdown, hosted by me, Jodi Lowe, and powered by UN Improved and Conscious Capitalism Arizona. At UN Improved, we are passionate about partnering with companies' leadership to develop their most valuable asset, of course, their people. To learn more about our personal and professional development classes and trainings, visit unimproved.com, or you can contact me at jodi@unimproved.com. Thank you all again for listening. Thank you to the two of you, and we will talk with you soon.